What's going on, heroes? Pokeforce here, and welcome to another Pokemon related video. Now before we hop right into the video, I just wanted to give a big thank you for so many views on my Pokemon top 5 tips for red and blue version, as well as my how to catch Mew guide. It really means a lot to me that those videos get so many views, and especially my 20th anniversary Celebi celebration video. It really means a lot to me that you guys like those videos so much. So I'll be making more of them as time goes on, since you seem to like them so much. Now today we're talking about Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now Pokemon Sun and Moon is the newly announced 7th generation games for later this holiday season, and a lot of people have been talking about what they would like to see in the games. So I thought I would kind of jump on that bandwagon and share with you guys what I think would be great to be included in Pokemon Sun and Moon. This list is actually broken down into 2 different top 5s. The first top 5 is going to be my top 5 things that I would like to see remain in the Pokemon games, things that are currently there already that I would like to see continue on into the next generation. The next 5 items on the list are 5 changes or additions that I hope that they make with Pokemon Sun and Moon. So we're gonna get started here with my top 5 items that I would like to stay in Pokemon, starting with number 5. Number 5 on my list of options to keep is character customization. Character customization was a huge addition to Pokemon X and Y. It helped trainers feel unique and special. You could personalize your look based off of how you want it to look, instead of some pre-built determination of what the trainer should look like. It allowed you to personalize your experience in unique ways that previous games couldn't really do. You could choose your gender, but you couldn't really do anything with your character beyond that. So it's a really great thing that I hope carries on into Pokemon Sun and Moon, maybe with some new styles or additions, give you more variety in the new region, so that way you can customize your character even more. Now number 4 on this list is the PSS. PSS was a great way to trade and battle people via local wireless or the internet, no matter where you were. You could access the GTS, battle online, trade with other people. They even had some really cool new features, such as Wonder Trading, the Holocast system, which allows you to see news for Pokemon, upcoming news, great events, and things like that within the game itself. Plus it had the O-Power system. It was a great addition, and I hope it makes its way into Pokemon Sun and Moon. If not how it is, maybe improved or enhanced in some way. Number 3 for features I'd like to stay in Pokemon Sun and Moon is a post-game. Now call it oversimplified, but Pokemon's longevity comes from a number of things. One of which is the collectability of the Pokemon, the competitive nature of Pokemon, and the game's post-game. While X and Y's post-game was kind of lackluster, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire improved on that formula with its Delta episode, which by the way included some really awesome story secrets that just blew everyone's minds. It was a really great addition. It's not the best, there was a lot of flying back and forth, but that's something they could really expand upon, maybe give us some even more fleshed out post-game in Sun and Moon, maybe even something along the scale of what Gold and Silver did. We'll be talking more about that in a minute. Number 2 on features to keep for Pokemon Sun and Moon is the Dex Nav. Dex Nav was utter genius. It was a new addition to Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which allowed you to seek out Pokemon, sneak up on them, and try to capture or battle them. Not only was this a great way to make the Pokemon world feel alive and bustling, but it blew open the doors on your ability to get Pokemon that you wanted for competitive Pokemon teams. Pokemon found by DexNav had the chance to have hidden abilities, egg moves, perfect IVs, and even shiny Pokemon. Plus the chance for all that good stuff went up the more you encountered the Pokemon, so it was very easy to just spend hours DexNaving and feeling like you weren't wasting your time. You were getting some real quality Pokemon out of just going after the same thing over and over and over again. It also gave you a vast number of options for Dex-Naving Pokemon, since pretty much any Pokemon on the route you could Dex-Nav for. This actually gives it a lot more options than the Friend Safari from Pokemon X and Y. It was a stellar addition, and I hope it makes its way into Pokemon Sun and Moon. Now number 1 for my list of features to keep is Mega Evolution. Mega Evolution was a fantastic way to breathe new life into old Pokemon. Suddenly, Pokemon that weren't so useful became huge monsters on the battlefield, and it gave us ways and insights into looking into new ways to use Pokemon that we hadn't thought of before. It was because of the new Mega Evolutions that Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire felt like such a new game to me. I still sometimes forget that it's actually a remake. Now you may be saying, Pochi, don't be silly, Mega Evolution isn't going anywhere, and that may be true. However, we shouldn't forget that many features that we thought were going to make their way into the core experience of the Pokemon games didn't. Pokemon following trainers hasn't seen a recursion since Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Pokemon Yellow, we got legit Pokemon cries, like Pikachu's cry, and we haven't seen that since until X and Y. And again, only Pikachu is the only Pokemon to have its own unique cry. And let's not forget about the Pokewalker, let's not forget about underground bases, or secret bases for that matter, which only recurred now with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, or the Dream World or the Dream Radar from Generation 5. Pokemon has introduced a lot of unique and interesting ideas that just haven't stuck. Do I think Mega Evolution will go the same way as Pokemon following you in the overworld? No, I don't really think so. All the same, I thought it was worth mentioning that I hold Mega Evolution as my #1 spot for features that I would like to be kept in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So next up are the 5 changes or additions that I would like to see included in Pokemon Sun and Moon. These are things that probably already exist in the game but I'd like tweaked or enhanced in some way, or something brand new or something we haven't seen in a long time that I'd like to see added in. Number 5 on my list of changes or additions for Pokemon Sun and Moon is all ado about HMs. Just a heads up, this is going to be long-winded. People have been harping on this one for a long time, and I really think it's high time that we moved away from using HMs as our primary form of traveling the Pokemon world. Now, I don't think that we should do away with moves like Surf or Fly or Strength. In fact, I think HMs should actually remain in the game. I just don't think that we should be relying them as our primary form of transportation across the Pokemon world. For instance, instead of surfing, you could get a personal-sized boat or surfboard. Waterfall could be a surfboard mounted with a grappling hook, maybe an upgrade to the surfboard that you get to surf. Fly could be a small prop vehicle or a hang glider or a jetpack. Now you may be asking, Poji, if we replace the need for Pokemon with items, then why do we still need HMs? That's because the central theme of any Pokemon game is the bond between the trainer and their Pokemon. Now you may be thinking, if we do away with using Pokemon in that way to traverse the Pokemon world, then aren't we weakening that bond? But what if you still could use Pokemon in that way? HMs go from being this expected thing you get playing through the game without even trying, to this really cool thing that you actively search for. Then not only does getting the HM allow you to teach that move to your Pokemon, but it allows you to use your Pokemon as a means to get around. This gives you the option of either using a Pokemon or that key item to get around, which means you no longer need a dedicated HM slave as you play through the game. But how does that make that special, you ask? And how does that deepen your bond with your Pokemon? Now, what if instead of using a generic placeholder model for the Pokemon when you surf or fly, they use a custom overworld model for that Pokemon? Certain Pokemon like Sharpedo and Lapras already have this in effect. Maybe instead of a generic blue bird when you fly, you see that Charizard or that Salamence in your party. Instead of just a swipe of a blade, you see your Breloom or Venusaur cut down the tree. I think allowing these custom overworld models for Pokemon that use HM moves really makes it more personal and makes you feel more immersed in the Pokemon world. Also, imagine if we had an alternative form of transportation versus the bike. Perhaps an HM form of extreme speed to let you ride around on the back of a Pokemon. Although I do think we may need to limit just a little bit the Pokemon that you can fly and surf on. Can you imagine flying on a Pidgey or surfing on a Horsey? Just no. Now number 4 on my list of changes or additions to Pokemon Sun and Moon that I hope for, at least, are changes to Pokemon Ami and Super Training. Now, Pokemon Ami was a fun and immersive addition to the Pokemon series. It was a way to interact and play with your Pokemon in a whole new way that wasn't battling or contests or some other removed form of interaction. This was very personal. You could interact with your Pokemon, touch it, pet it, speak its name, it would respond. Even still though, the functionality is kind of limited. There's really only so many ways that you can interact with your Pokemon. You could call its name, you could feed it, you could pet it and find out where it doesn't like to be pet, and you could play this weird mini game where it makes faces and you have to match them. Now that's all well and good, but I'd like to see something a bit more immersive than the mini games that Pokemon Ami launched with. Perhaps playing fetch or hide and seek, something like what we saw in Hey You Pikachu, or the outdoor portions of Pokemon Channel, just ways to really get out into the world and interact with your Pokemon in a more realistic way. In fact, I think it would be a great idea if the background of Pokemon Ami was reflective of where you had the app open. If you're in a cave, it's a cave background. If you're in a grassy field or a forest, you're in a grassy field or a forest. You know, something that says, hey, this is where we're sitting down, we're playing, we're having a good time, instead of the weird grassy field / bubbly skyline that we get with Pokemon Me right now. Now my remarks on super training are generally the same. It's all about improving immersion. The first time I fired up super training, I was actually pretty disappointed in how lacking in immersion it was. The punching of the punching bag was great, but the jumping into the actual training was this really weird jump. Why am I shooting balls at a giant balloon? Why am I in a sports stadium? Why am I on a flowing platform? How did I get here? I think it'd be a much more personal and immersive experience if the training games are more down to earth. Maybe running through wooden columns for speed, sitting under a waterfall for HP, lifting giant boulders for attack strength. And just like Pokemon Me, if these training missions could be set and themed based off of where you are in the physical Pokemon world, then I think that would really help the immersion. Number 3 on my list for changes and additions to Pokemon Sun and Moon is Pokemon Cries. Immersion's the running theme here. Now Pokemon X and Y was a huge jump forward for the Pokemon series. Amongst a bevy of new features, Pokemon X and Y was the first Pokemon game to be rendered in complete 3D, which includes a fully animated 3D model for all 700 plus Pokemon. Gone were the sprites of old, giving us a more immersive experience. But there's one thing they didn't change, and that was the Pokemon's cries. Most of the Pokemon cries are a holdover from older times when the system couldn't really generate those fully fleshed out vocalized Pokemon cries. If you look back at Pokemon Yellow, even though again I did say they had Pokemon cries back then, it was very grainy and hard on the ears. But I really feel that they could really pull that off with the technology we have today, and I feel it's time that Pokemon continue to move forward in this progressive direction. Give us fully fleshed out Pokemon cries for all 700 plus Pokemon. I think would really help with the immersion in this case. They've already given us that with Pikachu, now we just need to extend it to the full roster. Number 2 on my list of changes or additions that I'd like to see to Pokemon Sun and Moon are changes to the global trade system. Now, the GTS was a brilliant addition back in Generation 4. It gave you a way to trade Pokemon anonymously with strangers over the internet. The only thing is that even from its onset, the GTS has been fraught with problems. You go on there right now, you take a look for any Pokemon, you will see trainers asking for legendary or mythical Pokemon like Mew or Arceus, and what they're offering in exchange are starters, EVs, Pidgeys, weird stuff like that. Now there's a helpful toggle in the advanced settings that lets you hide those trolley offers, but there's a lot that isn't in those advanced settings that I think should be there. Now currently the only search criteria you can set when searching or depositing a Pokemon is the Pokemon species, its gender, and what level it is. That's all you get in terms of searching for Pokemon. And when you look at the Pokemon that's being offered, the only additional information you get is the hold item, if it even has one. So the first change that I would recommend is showing ability and nature on that screen. And let's take it a step further from there and allow you to search for a Pokemon, refine that search based on ability and nature. Do you want a Froakie, or do you want a Protean Froakie? I also think having those options available to a player depositing a Pokemon helps ensure that they get what they're looking for, instead of getting some piece of crap that they had their Ditto pooped out so they can steal that tenderly raised and cared for Goodra or Aegislash or what have you. I also think being able to turn on or off a toggle saying that you're looking for a shiny Pokemon will really help in that regard. And finally, I also think it'd be good if a trainer would be allowed to deposit multiple Pokemon at a time. Right now the GTS will only let you deposit one Pokemon, but I think maybe up to 3 or maybe even more Pokemon deposited would really help the trainer basically put more offers out there to increase the odds of them getting what they're looking for. In the end, I think it would really help trainers get a more positive experience out of the GTS by helping them find the Pokemon that they're really looking for. And number 1 on my list of changes or additions to Pokemon Sun and Moon, you've probably guessed it already, and that's I would like there to be 2 regions. The second generation is considered the best by a lot of Pokemon players, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that you have an entire second region to explore after you're done with Johto. Being able to go back to Kanto and re-explore the regions of Red and Blue, going wherever you want, however you want, and just seeing how things changed, was probably the best post-game that any Pokemon game had to offer. While Black and White 2 had something similar in that you got to go back to Unova and see how it changed, we haven't really had a game to give us an entirely new region to explore, or at least re-explore an old region, since Gold and Silver, or in their remakes, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Now a lot of people are actually expecting Sun and Moon to give us that second region. There's a lot of theories out there actually that the new region of Pokemon Sun and Moon might connect to Kalos. And actually getting the opportunity to re-explore Kalos would be really good. We did get some information a few months back about Zygarde having some new forms. So we definitely know that there's really some unexplored territory in the region of Kalos. So I would really love the opportunity to go back and explore it again through Sun and Moon. So that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed my top 5 things that I'd like to stay in the Pokemon games, Pokemon Sun and Moon, as well as my top 5 changes and additions that I would like to see to Pokemon Sun and Moon. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. Stay tuned for future videos. And as always, guys, heroes, you stay awesome. Take care. Was a entirely